Welcome back to the Quiet on Set podcast powered by Cineman. I'm Young Gruff, and as always, I'm joined by Lachlan Teely.
On episode 159, there was so much stuff in the show notes, I couldn't summarize it into a funny, quirky sentence like I usually do, so I'm just going to make the sound that my brain was making whilst writing this.
Nothing? I'm so
nothing,
confused.
yeah, I had nothing. Yeah, so
Okay.
even the joke, I had to follow up with that. I couldn't follow up with a joke. It was like, that's how frazzled my brain was when writing this intro.
I love how the intros have had like moments of silence and stuff like that. When you just want to get straight into it, you take step on the brakes. I love that.
Yep.
Yeah, get ready. This is gonna take a while. We're gonna get to a lot of different topics, a lot of stuff. I watched a whole bunch of stuff. I'll actually give you an overview of pretty much everything that is releasing, because I didn't watch it all this week, but I did in previous weeks. So we'll give you a full overview. I finished Gen V, The Boys, that spin-off. I caught the latest episode of Loki. I caught the first 4 episodes of Invincible. By the time this episode comes out, only the first 2 have been out, so I have a bit of a preview for you on that one. I caught Quiz Lady with Sandra Oh and Aquafina. Is it funny? I'll tell you later on. Priscilla is out. I'll also tell you about that. Not in Australia, by the way. You are getting it on January 18th in 2024.
Next year.
So cool. You actually have a really stacked January 18th date. I think there's 7 big movies that release on that same date. Yep. I don't know what Australia is doing, but good for you. Full day at the movies.
Every year, January, it's just they throw
crazy.
all the movies then. Don't know why.
But Lachlan also caught the first 2 Hunger Game movies and the latest season of Rick and Morty. You caught some of the episodes there as well.
Yes, I did. I'll discuss about it in a minute. Ewan, name a part of the body. Wait, no, don't, stop. I decided I don't want to do this anymore because it could go anywhere. Why? Well, Ewan and I caught the latest Apple TV preview of Fingernails. It's a movie starring Jesse Buckley and Riz Ahmed, and we have some thoughts on it. We'll discuss about that later on in the episode.
Yes, perfect. So let's cue up the intro and get into the show. We are professional.
This is a professional podcast.
Yes. Breaking Bad and Better Call Saul. Hello there. Which actually,
did you
this
get
is gonna
me a
be
hat
a
as
bit,
well?
Yes.
So I've got Dooncam. It's just a camera with my Dune steelbook.
All right, welcome back, Lachlan. Big week.
Hello.
Ahead of us.
Big week.
Big week. Big trailer week. Last week I was like,
week than others. Yeah.
Yeah. Is it just the days are bigger? I don't know what you.
No, they're just upside down in Australia. That's the joke.
Sure. Yeah, that's
I was
always
just saying,
the
you
punchline.
usually have a busier week of movies than me.
Yeah.
I'm sometimes jealous of your lifestyle of just watching movies.
Yeah. A lot of people are. I get that.
How many
So
movies
much
have you watched
jealousy
this year?
floating around. I think I don't know. I do know because I tweeted it out yesterday that I watched 2023 movies. Registers by Letterboxd. It was 350 plus, something like that. So
Yeah, wow.
I'm gonna cut down on that. I think I said that last year as well. Because I still have the Criterion channel and I never watch those types of movies. But again, going to festivals, I think I'll have a bunch of stuff from that release now, and it feels great to be able to give you an overview. But this week I didn't watch a ton actually. I really had one of the slower weeks, but still a lot of stuff from months ago that I can tell you if it's good or not. But last week we had a really slow week when it comes to trailers. Really nothing exciting that was out. And then this week they were like, boom, let's drop all of the trailers right now. And they dropped the second trailer for Godzilla Minus One. I don't know if you got anything else to add there. I think I'm in for the atmosphere. What do you think, Lachlan?
It looks great. I
Looks
love
pretty sick.
Japanese Godzilla movies. They're so cool. I think they're the best of the kaiju movies that we get. They're just they're so rich in style and at least in this one, it just makes Godzilla the bad guy. And that's what I want. I don't want Godzilla to be the
How about he has
King Kong,
emotions though?
I don't give a fuck about Godzilla's emotion. He's a big lizard. I'm
Maybe
sure
he needs-
he's got a nice big heart.
Yeah, but
fuck
maybe
him,
he
he's
just
a
needs
big
his
lizard.
toenails clipped. Maybe that's the reason he's so mad. He's got an ingrown
Yes.
toenail.
Let me crush this primary school with my toes so I can get my nails cut.
Yeah.
Godzilla,
That's what I do.
Godzilla is a bad person, and
Mondays,
I'm
am
in
I
for
right?
it for this one.
Yeah.
Also, why -1?
Because it's the marketing tactic. You see it in Japan first, and then in 5 years, well, actually, usually the Japanese are behind when it comes to some technology stuff. But also then ahead, weirdly enough, maybe the next like iPhone is gonna go back to like minus, because it's retro. I think they're ahead of the curve here. But yeah,
Okay,
maybe it's a prequel. It's a prequel. It's actually how you do prequels now.
So
But
next one's gonna
they're
be
doing the
Godzilla
prequel
0.
before. Yeah, they're doing the prequel before they start the actual series.
Perfect.
That's how you
So they're
franchise.
not doing a
in
prequel, they're
2023.
doing it in order. So instead of
Yes.
making a movie and then making a prequel so that it makes more, have the original film have more substance, they're just
Well,
going to do it in
it's-
order.
Look, as
Why
we
has no one
famously
else
know,
done that? Why do we
Star
not
Wars.
just start
no.
movies at the
Star Wars
start?
has started with Episode 4, hasn't it? When it
No,
came
it
out,
did not even start. Oh, for fuck's sake.
they started.
It didn't even start as A New Hope, and it didn't even start in episode 4.
It didn't know.
We're going to get episode -1 Star Wars soon, and it's going to be dog trash.
Yeah. They did the other
the new
thing with
trend.
Star Wars. They started with Episode 4 and then went back. That's definitely how they did it.
Wait, no, I was gonna say Rogue One is episode like -1 because but it would be negative.
No, it's 3.5, right? It would be like in between.
3.5.
Yeah.
So do
Yeah.
we have anything that's like -1 Star Wars? Maybe something from
Yeah.
Tales of the Jedi is episode -1.
Yes, but then the actual movie is going to be that one that got announced, like the Republic era one. That's gonna be
Yeah.
-1. But yeah, I do want at that because we need accuracy in the timelines. Of course, it's really
Well,
the utmost importance.
I mean, maybe we'll get like Planet of the Apes -1.
Yeah. And then it's just like
And it's just-
it's
and it's just Earth.
nothing. It's just Earth and then nothing.
Just James Franco
No
comes
apes.
back just hanging out.
But there's like one lingering shot on like an ape, but there's nothing that comes from it.
It
It's
doesn't
just
go
like one
anywhere.
Oh man, yeah, Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes. They did show the first trailer. I didn't know that this was actually happening. I don't know if you were aware, but I was.
did.
I was caught off guard. I don't know if you're familiar with you probably are familiar with the director. You've seen the Maze Runner films, right?
Yes.
Is that like, yeah. I've only seen
Not
the first
all of them,
one,
but
yeah.
I've seen a Maze Runner film.
Yeah,
I might
me
have
too.
seen
I've
two.
seen one. Mhm.
Actually, this will come up in like what I've been watching with the Hunger Games, but I've seen a Maze Runner film.
Yeah, you're in your teeny phase with like those teen dystopian future things that you've been watching recently.
It's not a phase, Ewan.
No, it is a phase, and you'll grow out of it,
not,
and
I'm
you'll
back
become
in
a
it.
big girl by the end of it. I think this
God.
trailer didn't give me much yet on what the story is going to be. I don't know if like Kingdom, there's like going to be a bad king or a good king, or who we follow and what the dynamics are going to be, but it looks stunning from the production design. I feel like it's just a really rich world, and I mean, I'm in. Looks really cool.
Yeah, no, I'm keen. Obviously, this is just really more of a teaser. I didn't
Yeah.
realize how soon it was. Maybe I'm
yeah.
just thinking that
May, right?
this got announced ages ago when I heard about it, but I remember hearing there was going to be another one a while ago, but I didn't realize how quickly it would have been turned around because it's like next year. So I'm quite keen. I really do have to go back and rewatch the Planet of the Apes movies.
Yeah, same.
I don't think I appreciated them as much as I did when I first watched them, so I might just have to take a step back and do it. But this is gonna be like a busy time because I'm watching all of these like trilogies of movies right now.
Oh yeah.
And we'll get to that soon
Yeah.
with what we've been watching. But like, dude, man, it's I forget how many IPs we actually have. Like I feel
it's
like
crazy.
and it's not just like singular movie IPs. Like there's a ton of IPs out there, but like universes that we've gotten recently, and I kind of forget like MCU's done it, but I kind of forget like Planet of the Apes did it as well, and there's so many of these films that are just doing these like big worlds now. It's insane.
Yeah. It is, yeah. Speaking of, well, there's no real good tie over that I can make here. A big cast is in the English dub of The Boy and the Heron. I'm wondering, Lachlan, are you gonna catch it in the dub or in the sub version first?
So I will. By the way, I haven't watched the trailer and I'm not going to. I will watch it
good.
subbed.
Yep.
Subbed. And then I will go and listen and watch the English version afterwards. Because
I just watched,
I believe it's subbed first, dubbed second. Not saying that the voice acting is terrible.
Yeah,
because there are, like, Studio Ghibli is probably one of the few companies that does really good casting for their films. Especially with this one, it's got Robert Pattinson doing voice acting.
Yeah.
And Christian Bale doing voice acting. So
two Batmans in there. You got two Batmans and a Joker in there. It's crazy.
Insane. What Joker?
Mark Hamill. Mark Hamill is also.
Mark Hamill. Yeah. So you've got this massive cast, and I'm not saying like I don't want to watch that version. I'm going to watch it the way it was probably written and originally was done.
Yeah.
Then I will watch the English translation. Do we know who did the translation? Like, because I know that there was one.
I don't know.
That what's his name did. Sandman writer did, and
yeah. I actually haven't looked into that, but from the trailer alone, I could tell that this is a really well done dub of this film. It already enhanced some moments that I remember because I've seen this film in the sub version, and I think it enhanced some moments that are gonna play better with a Western audience. And I think this is gonna be worth seeing in both versions. I think I'll probably on my first rewatch watch it in subbed again because I'm just kind of I really prefer stuff to be in the original version. But with animation, I think it's the one place where dubbing is sometimes okay if they end up really matching it well. And I think there's also this new technology that even extends into live action where they go in and kind of feed it this thing to adjust mouth movements to kind of represent I guess the language that is tagged on top of it, which is a really neat technology, I think, because that's like usually something that I mean, it's so obvious, and I cannot ignore it. And with animation, you got that a bit less, but yeah, looks great. And yeah, Lachlan, did you find out who's doing the translation?
I cannot see if it's anyone crazy. Also, my keyboard is broken, so I can't really quickly get around the internet right now. This is not a fun time for me.
It's Oi and the Heron. No B.
Oi. No B's.
that's the Australian dub. It's like oi, oi and the Heron.
Because it was Neil Gaiman who translated
Princess Mononoke or something.
And
yeah, that's sick.
That's one of the first movies I remember going like, yeah, that's a solid English dubbing.
Dub, yeah. Mm-hmm.
But I cannot find who is writing this one. That's okay. Well, it might just be anybody.
Yeah. Could just be Mickey Mouse, Walt Disney's Frozen head. Who knows? They might have him do a bunch of translations. You never know with those evil companies. But the Fall Guy, David Leitch.
Speaking of translations. Oh, sorry.
Speaking of, Lost in Translation. Priscilla is out.
That's
Sofia
okay.
Coppola. But what was your tie over? Speaking of translations,
was be, speaking of lost in speaking of translations, here's the transition to this next.
Yeah.
See, I'm not the segue guy. You're the segue guy.
Yeah, I'm the segue guy.
And I feel like I should be helping you with segues.
No, that's
often,
fine.
So I can.
I
step
appreciate
in
the effort.
Let's take this before we continue. If you were to die, you're expecting me to continue the podcast, right? And I'm assuming if I die, you will continue the podcast, right?
You just but not with a new co-host, but we play both parts, and it's
oh right, okay.
we play dress up.
Oh, okay. That's not where I was expecting that to go. But if that is your wishes, I guess that is what I'll be doing every Sunday night for the rest of my life.
Yes.
If you were to die, I must continue the podcast. I don't know how I'm going to record that. Am I going to have to record my part?
You're the tech guy.
And your part?
Yeah.
I'm the tech guy. Yeah, I can make things work. But I'm not the segue guy, so I'll hand back to you so you can segue into the last trailer.
Don't die on a film set. Don't die in a stunt, on a crazy stunt, hanging upside down in Australia. And yeah, don't fall over, Fall Guy. David Leitch is back with, the director of Deadpool 2. He also made Atomic Blonde. He made the Hobbs and Shaw movie. And most recently Bullet Train, and he's got like the certain comedic style. Here it seems to be focusing a bit more on a relationship at the center of it all, and that was the part that I liked least, the hints of that in Bullet Train, and now we get it here. It didn't really grab me. I think it was just like a bunch of trailer, and I didn't really get a ton of what the actual movie is going to be. Lachlan, what did you think of it?
I'm okay with it. I enjoyed all of those movies that you just listed that he's done, and I don't think they're incredible films, but they were entertaining films. Don't you shit on Hobbs and Shaw. It was entertaining at least.
Hobbs and shit.
So for me, it entertainment, like that's what movies are, right?
Fair,
movies are
that's
entertainment. Let them entertain.
Yeah.
Let them entertain. And
okay,
I want to be entertained. And I can't wait to do the Leo meme. You know the Leo meme where he's like, to all of the Australian landmarks that I've seen. Because I've been to Sydney. I've been to Sydney, and I saw the Opera House.
Me too.
In the background, and I did that. I was drinking, and I was like, I was doing that meme where he points at the TV screen. And I can't wait to do that in this one.
That's fair.
Because that was great. Is Ryan Gosling ever going to get over the Ken thing? Because I feel like that the success of Barbie might transition into this, because people might not like. Here's the thing: I understand Ryan Gosling is a famous actor, but I feel like Barbie could be like his mainstream success into getting people to watch more of his films.
Imagine he did Blade Runner after this, then he wouldn't have flopped. Just like, you know.
No, Blade Runner would have flopped.
No. Don't no.
If you make a Blade Runner movie, it has to flop. That's the thing. You can't have it be successful.
It's part of the charm, I guess.
It's in the contract. Do not make money
you
from
may
this movie.
lose.
Let us burn
You may
cash.
only lose on this production. Yeah.
Blade Runner movies are just tax write-offs for these companies. That's all it is. Sorry. Continue. Let's get to the.
Let's get to the. Yeah. Let's get some stuff.
He fell.
Does he get up again? You never know. Well, he's hanging on to a bunch of stuff in this movie, and I think it's great to get Ryan Gosling. The people like you who have Drive and that are full favorites, to get another glimpse of him as a stunt guy. Less brooding, less.
I removed Drive from my full favorites.
You did? I think I thought I just saw it like the other day, that it was still.
I'm pranking you.
Okay, I was on your profile like the other day. I don't know what for, but okay, I was just thinking that would have been a really recent change. You're like Simon, this like, Ryan Gosling as another stunt guy. I can only have one of those. I gotta save the spot for this one. But we'll check it out. It comes out in January, actually pretty soon. So it will be one of the first movies that we get to cover in 2024, which is very exciting. There were a couple more trailers that I don't want to give more time to because they were kind of trash. It was Family Switch, Manodrome, I couldn't really figure out, and then Genie.
I liked Manodrome. I'm going to say it. I thought Manodrome was an interesting concept, and I'm actually very excited for it.
I couldn't figure it out. I wouldn't list them. I sandwiched it in between two shit trailers. Poor Man's Fight Club is actually, yes. I mean, you might like it more than Bottoms. But we'll have to wait and see for that. But the other two comedies that feel like they are just overdone and not really original, not really funny. But we'll see. Anyways, that's a lot of trailer talk. We usually don't do that. We didn't do that anymore here on the show, but there was just like so many big, exciting trailers for big movies, huge movies that we had to do it. But amongst the ongoing strikes, there was one production that was big and still ongoing because it was done under a different type of union in the UK, and that was for House of the Dragon Season 2. So that series ended up shooting for a while and is now set to premiere in summer of 2024. And yeah, I'm quite keen for it, Lachlan. I think we both really enjoyed the first season. And eager to see where it flies off to next.
Yep, I'm more keen for that than Lord of the Rings Season 2. What was it called? Power of the Ring?
Rings of Power, yes.
Rings of Power, Season 2. I'm more keen for that. But I would love to see Rings of Power, because I got this.
You could put it... You could put...
Ooh.
Oh, you got that, yeah.
Ooh.
No, I was about to make a really bad... I'm still gonna make the joke, but let's leave it open so I can cut it out. But even with up your ass, there would still be more buzz for House of the Dragon Season 2. I think that's a version
that's staying in. That's staying in.
No.
Yeah. You just gotta censor the whole thing.
No.
So just have a censor beat as you say that
here.
Entire thing.
I just gotta.
That'd be great.
I just gotta.
I find censoring quite funny. So
it is.
I feel like
it is actually. Yeah, I don't know what it is about like the censor thing, but imagining, you know what's there most of the time. But imagining what could be.
You're saying? Yeah.
It's like imagining a future that is not yet here or may never come. But anyways, you watched Yellowstone for a bit, right? And now the final episodes of this, I guess, final season that's been ongoing has been pushed back another year. So I think the finale like now stretches over like multiple years, like 2 years when it actually is coming out. There's also 2 more spin-offs in the works with some year that is named. That's how they've been going. 20 something or like 40 or whatever. They've been really hard at work trying to figure out titles for this Yellowstone spin-off series stuff. But
so I'm just checking now. I made it all the way up to season 4 episode 8, and I haven't watched it in a couple of months. And I was going to wait until season 5 launched and finished, and it looks like I'm not going to be doing that, so maybe I'll just bang it out and finish the rest of it. But yeah, they all kind of merged into the same thing. I got really I really enjoyed the first few seasons, and then it kind of just died off a little bit because it all became the same thing. But I'm not interested in any of the spin-offs. I don't have any interest in it. I don't care. I have just gone out of my... I'm like coming in and out of my cowboy phase because one, I keep loading up Red Dead Redemption 2 and just playing poker in it recently. Like I've just literally loaded up Red Dead and all I do is play poker. That's all I do. I walk around from town to town and I play poker. That's all I'm doing right now in video games. I haven't played any other game, just that. And I've gone shopping for a cowboy hat recently, so I'm entering my cowboy phase.
He's on 2 lanes right now because remember, he's also on his teenage dystopian phase, you know?
What do I do? Do I wear a cowboy hat and watch Maze Runner? What do I do? Do I get a tattoo of a mockingjay on my chest? Like is that a cowboy enough?
Yeah, you just go around and instead of like,
through.
I did the Hunger Games thing.
I assume that's what you did, but because Discord was like, you're not whistling loud enough, we're not going to process this.
It's you know, in those westerns where there's like the bad guys that are just like whistling, and instead of like having some kind of, I don't know, did you do whatever? It's always the Hunger Games thing. That's like the 2 things
always
merging.
The Hunger Games things, yeah.
But yeah, SAG-AFTRA and the AMPTP are still in negotiations. It might be ending soon, so I'm gonna tag something along right here. If there's something, if you didn't get like something in between, then You don't get to see it. That's just me. That's for when you're dead. I can also do the announcement as if you are dead. It's a conversation about like the strike's ending. But maybe it ended, maybe not. We don't know yet. But yeah. Then I also want to briefly bring up the FNAF movie success. We talked about it really briefly last week. Lachlan wasn't a fan. Me neither.
Hey!
You gave it a 1 star. You gave it a 1 star.
Doesn't mean I wasn't a fan. I said to somebody at work, I was like, I'm giving it 1 star, but I'm hoping for a sequel.
Yeah, you also wrote that in your Letterboxd review, like that the lore that someone next to you as you were watching it, told you that was what you enjoyed the most. So much
lore left untouched, and I just want a sequel.
And you just want to touch so many kids in theaters. Do you want kids to be touched in theaters? Right? That's what you were saying?
No.
All right.
No. If you leave this joke in, but the other joke out, then dude, like, I don't even. Again, I think I just want you to censor all of these jokes so that people can just imagine what you're saying.
Oh, yeah. Whole podcast just like one long beep.
Beep.
Anyways, it made historic gross for Blumhouse. It had the biggest Blumhouse opening. It currently is sitting at spot number 13 when it comes to all-time gross for Blumhouse, and that's just 1 week after the release. It has already made $150 million worldwide. And it looks to be overtaking films like the Black Phone, which is getting a sequel in summer of 2025. But there's also the 3 Insidious films, Megan, 3 Paranormal Activity movies, Glass, Get Out, Halloween from 2018, and Split, which that last one is sitting at $278.8 million. And it's looking like that FNAF might be overtaking this one. And a new era for Blumhouse, I guess. Not a new era, but just like a new highest grossing film.
More money.
Money, which, no, there's no tie over here. But I just found something really hilarious, that little story, that apparently HBO executives have, in the time span, I think, of like 2020 to 2021, have anonymously like commented on some film critics, like Twitter, and also in like some forums, like kind of defending HBO shows. And there was apparently like I read up on it. There was a paper trail and like text messages and emails where basically they took pretty much verbatim what some of these execs told people to respond to these reviews and stuff, and then they did it. And it was always like anonymous, and it basically came out that they've been doing it. And it's just like the pettiest and funniest thing I've seen like from this industry in a while. It's like, it's a really fun story to read up on. I'll link that below. But that's it for the news. But before we get to discussion time, please rate us over on Spotify and Apple podcast. It helps us out a bunch to get more listeners, and also get screeners for films get to go to festivals as well. And if you're on YouTube, leave a like and subscribe. Very much appreciated. But Lachlan, let's get to discussion time. And because we are talking about fingernails, I want to talk about this. Lachlan, what's your favorite body part? No, I'm kidding. That's not actually something, but something that is featured in the film is obviously in fingernails. You got to get the fingernail to see if you're a match with someone else, if there's like love between the two of you. And that's something that particularly makes me really squeezy. I'll get into that in a second, but I was wondering, is there anything in films, in movies, when you're like sitting in the theater and there's something that's happening that like you have to shift around in your seat and you get really uncomfortable and queasy?
No, not like a set thing. I don't get that uncomfortable. In fact, I find this funny, but I thrive on on being uncomfortable, and I like putting myself in uncomfortable situations, and I get a kick out of that. So no, but I can give you maybe like a couple of examples.
Please.
When I have felt a bit oof. There have been a couple of especially in the more recent John Wick films where there has been like a way that John Wick has creatively killed somebody that's made me go, oh, like, ow, that would have hurt. But
yeah.
The only other thing that I remember, like, physically feeling ill is in Nope, when the people are swallowed by the ship.
Yeah,
that made me feel. And I don't get claustrophobic, but I felt very. The best way I can describe it is claustrophobic. I felt small and uncomfortable, and I found it hard to breathe in that scene, in that moment, and then it was over really quickly, and I kind of went, like I kind of breathed again. That was the only time that I felt that way, and I put it to a mixture of great atmosphere, great cinematography, because you couldn't really see much, but overall just the sound design of the screaming, the breathing of the ship, like the crushing, it was all just so much to make me feel uncomfortable. So that's like the one thing that makes me feel ill, is that one moment in Nope.
Yeah, that's like something that's really aided by the sound design in there as well, what you can hear from the people. I think a recent film that is about to release as well, Anatomy of a Fall, not Anatomy of the Fall, sorry, The Zone of Interest, with all of the background stuff that you know is going on. I think it's just like it's something that is somehow always in the back of your mind, but it didn't make me like uncomfortable the whole time through. Like, obviously it's like harrowing, but something that always gets me is like, especially with this film, each time they were like ripping off fingernails, I was physically moving in my seat and had to readjust, and I'm also groaning and making noises because it's like, it's really uncomfortable for me. And I don't even get that sometimes with Saw films, or at least I didn't used to. I don't know what it is, but in the last few years, I'm having, especially in the theater, I'm having way more of actual like physical responses as I'm in there. Maybe it's the luxury of having getting to go to press screenings, and usually everyone's sitting there just like a robot, not really moving, and I'm just in there like shifting around. But something that really gets me is also if someone's hitting on someone and it's not reciprocated, that kind of secondhand cringe that you feel play out is making me sometimes like, I don't want to look.
That's a good one.
And I'm watching something on streaming, I often have to pause if something is really cringe and I need to collect myself. And you don't get to do that in films when you're in the cinema, and I think that's like, sometimes I really appreciate that.
I will agree with that as well. I didn't think about those awkward like romantic moments, but I do agree. Those romantic moments, I physically go, oh, like the cringy.
Yeah.
Like, it's, oh God.
Yeah.
Have I been in that situation before? Was that me at one point? Ugh.
It's like,
that's a good
because
one.
when you look at someone in a movie and they're trying to make something happen, there's always like a way higher standard, because we are like, there's an audience, and a lot of the time it is just between the two of you, like two people or a couple of people, and when you miss, you just like move on. But in the cinema, we are forced to kind of stick with it, and that makes us so uncomfortable, because your natural thing would just be to leave, and you don't get to leave. So yeah, I also love it though, like what you said, putting myself in uncomfortable positions sometimes it is quite fun, because you try to kind of, you have to come up with kind of a solution to not make stuff cringe, and ultimately I think it's good, and we don't do that as much our generation, because we are kind of hiding a lot of the time, you know. We are kind of hermits in compared to like some older generations. But I don't know if there's anything else to add in here. I think we pretty much covered it. I think for me it's fingernails. I'm not like with other horror stuff, I'm kind of fine, but there's something about fingernails that always gets me, or toenails. That kind of torture thing is like, ooh, it's making me uncomfortable just talking about it. But yeah, that's it for discussion time this week. Lachlan, let's get to what we've been watching.
I volunteer as tribute.
All right, Lachlan, you were a big old hungry hippo this week, and you caught Hunger Games. Yummy, yummy.
I did.
In my tummy. Yes.
Obviously, there's a prequel coming out soon, and my girlfriend is very excited. So, not by choice, I have been watching the Hunger Game movies. When we watch movies together. And I thought I'd seen the first 3. I know I haven't seen part 2 of Mockingjay, whatever it's called. But turns out I've only seen the first 2 because
right.
I have logged both of them on Letterboxd before. So I have seen Hunger Games and Hunger Games Catching Fire. And I must say, I am not enjoying myself a crazy amount in these movies. Yeah. But I can see the hype. I can see the hype around them. And I respect that. I really do. I do respect the idea of the Hunger Games. I think it's quite cool. I like the world of the
definitely
Hunger Games.
original.
I think it's quite,
you know?
Yeah, I think it's
never
it's
been
quite
done before.
quite a fun idea. But I must say the dialogue, the stuff that people say, the noises coming out of their mouth to construct words and sentences. Yeah, it's dog trash. Like it's literally dog trash, and I can't stand it. And if I could have $1 for every time Jennifer Lawrence does her cry face in this movie, I would have so much money. It would be so good. Because all the time, Katniss is just like, no. That's basically the Hunger Game movies. Yeah. So, up until now, I've seen both of these films. It's the next 2, which are going to be the interesting ones, because I haven't seen them. Well, but I have been told they are the worst.
Yeah, the director has also come out and kind of said that making this a 4-hour long experience, or like, I don't know, splitting them into 2 was not a good idea, because they stretch it pretty thin.
They already are too long. Like, they're already both like 2.5-hour films. Like, they just need to be 2 hours and that's it. You can get in and out. So
what I've recently heard another critique of the film is that, like, she as a character never has to go through something really challenging where she has to make big decisions. It's always kind of just like, well, yeah, don't do the bad thing that would make you an ambiguous character. And I think the third one kind of plays with that a bit, at least from what I can remember, but I didn't really see some of the character decisions. So I'm keen what you think of it. And I literally have not seen these films in 8 years. The last one that came out in 2015. That's the last time I've seen one of these films. So I think I might binge them as well in preparation for the prequel. But yeah, I am seeing it a bit early, I think next week at a press screening, so I do have to get it in. So no, okay, yeah, nah, I was showing off a bit. Oh my god, he's seeing it early before all of the fans. But we'll cover that one. Let me just check
my calendar to see when I'm seeing this movie that before it comes out. Oh yes, what's that? 2 weeks before. Look at me flex.
Yeah. I love how your girlfriend is kind of helping us prep for that episode in 2 weeks, because I think it's going to be our main focus for the review as well. So you'll actually have the full background. So it's actually it works out for me.
I was like, do you want to give me your review and I can like read it out? And she's kind of gonna contemplate it.
That would be fun. But you also
podcast, but I don't think she wants to go on the podcast.
No, I don't think probably not. But Rick and Morty, really funny show with new voice actors, but you can't really tell.
Yes.
I've seen some episodes as well. I think the first couple, I don't know how many of them are out right now, but
I think I've seen 3.
I've seen the first 2.
For me, I can only see 3.
Yeah.
Some days I think that they're good. I think they're good. I think there's a little bit of a oomph back to it, because there's some really funny sequences and there's some really funny things that they do. But that's Rick and Morty. Not much to say. Baby. I can talk about it when it comes to the end of the season. But Ewan, I already told you last week that I got another box set, but I left it somewhere else, and I've got it here with me. So have you had any time to think about what box set I got?
I literally have not spent a single second thinking about it. I'm so sorry.
Perfect.
Because I was like,
so I got this one.
Mind clean.
I got this one.
Yes.
All right, excellent.
Nice.
And you also know I got this on DVD.
Yeah. Spider-Man.
4K. What other trilogy could I have gotten on 4K? I'll give you one chance to guess one, and then if you don't get it, I'll give you a hint, and then you can guess one more time.
I have no clue. Like, really. Other than maybe The Equalizer? I don't know, that's so random. I don't think so.
That's your guess number one? Cool. No. I haven't seen these movies before.
Yeah, I know that it's not the Before trilogy. I think we joked about that last week. And I don't think you're gonna go for something like Three Colors Red. You've seen... No! Wait, I think you still haven't seen the Godfather trilogy, so that would be one that you could go for. Oh my god, okay. I forgot that you didn't see this one yet. So
I haven't seen The Godfather.
On 4K.
So, yeah, on 4K.
50th anniversary.
This is the 50th anniversary edition, so it comes with, other than
So
the
fucking
bonus
old.
disc that's in it,
Yeah.
it comes with part 1, part 2, and The Godfather Coda, the death
Yeah.
of
Michael Corleone.
So...
Marco
yeah.
Carlone.
What? Shut up!
He's loaning
I don't have an
cars.
accent.
He's loaning
And
cars.
then there's the bonus disc which has a ton of stuff I can't wait to jump into.
Yeah.
All new special features, full circle, preserving the Godfather, capturing Corleones through the lens of the perspective of photographer Steve Shapiro. Godfather home movies, restoration comparisons, plus introduction from Francis Coppola, for 1, 2, and 3. Additional scenes. On screenwriting, the family tree, the music, profiles of the... Oh my god, there's so many things.
So, yeah. I love how you...
Oh my god, The Godfather Part 2 is 200 minutes? My god.
Yeah. They're all really long, but yeah. You're gonna have a blast. I don't know when you will make time for them, because they are quite... They're epic movies, but I love how you're going from Francis Lawrence in The Hunger Games to Francis Ford Coppola. So you're making your way down the Fs. And
So I
yeah.
Francis Lawrence? You mean Jennifer Lawrence?
No, Francis what's his name?
Oh, the
maybe
director,
I'm getting
the director.
Director, yeah. His name is Francis Lawrence, yeah. They're not
well-
related. I've never thought of this before, but the director and the lead actress do have the same name. That's crazy.
Well, crazy.
Yeah.
But good job
Anyways.
in guessing. That's something
Yeah.
I have now in my collection that I can
Very
I can
cool.
choose to watch when I'm ready, and I can watch it on the best format there is. That's not dead. Don't kill physical media. Whatever you do, I want my rights to watch physical media. I will sign my you can have my data, Facebook. Go ahead. Just don't.
Yeah.
You can have my fingerprints. You can have my security card, like my credit card details. You can have my driver's license number if you want. But don't take away my physical media.
I think, Lachlan, I do have a different solution for when you die, and I ultimately have to continue this podcast. I'll use
Cremate
a
me
different...
on a DVD of 4K.
Yes, I'll make like a model of you that I can have a different thing on. Obviously, for the first couple of episodes, we keep it classy, but then we move on to the days where it's sometimes like Morbius, or for a couple of seconds, it switches to that, and it's basically your face molded onto a box set, and you can move it around, and that's how we there should be plenty of data to make an AI voice of the other person, so we can easily just keep this going.
Can already do that. I can do it on my phone.
Wow.
Do you mean to set?
Yeah.
I'll set it up. Hang on, I'll set it up.
Yeah, get it ready. If you
Whilst
I don't know, if
whilst
follow
you
the-
read it, I have enough time. You got to read through 30 different pages. So
I do have a couple of things here, but I'll keep it brief, basically letting you know what's worth checking out and not. On Disney Plus or on Hulu internationally, we do have Quiz Lady that's out with Awkwafina and Sandra Oh. It's a bit of an interesting choice in those two castings, because it's essentially flipping the role that usually Awkwafina would go for, with Sandra Oh, who's more of the outgoing, quirky, weird one. About a quiz lady who's obsessed with watching a quiz show, and then she gets to go on the quiz show. It has I don't know, it has one of those moments where it's the fake fame thing, where someone films you and then you go viral, and I feel like we've done that 10 years ago, and it was already so off and wrong and boring, and do it here again. The film has some funny moments. I didn't love it though, because I think we're both not the biggest fan of Aquafina and a comedy style. She just, I don't know what, but she like fully leans into being like a gremlin in this one, where how hunched forward she is the whole film. But there's a fun performance by Will Ferrell in here, who's the quiz show host. And yeah, not the funniest movie of the year by a long shot. Invincible season 2, very keen. Thank you to Amazon, who sent me the first couple of episodes, the first half of the series. The first 2 are out now, and I think they release every Friday. And I think the show is definitely worth getting into. If you haven't seen the first season, definitely go catch up on it. I think it has like some things that are way better than The Boys, just like in how expansive and at the moments that it arrives at don't always feel like they need some counterpoint to the real world that it needs to attach itself onto. But then it also has like some characters, some also like attempts at comedy that just don't really land, and some subplots that I don't really care about, so it kind of drags the show down a bit. But at the main core, we got J.K. Simmons as like Omni-Man in this, and I think that core dynamic with his son is like, there's a lot of stuff in there, and definitely worth seeing. That's streaming now on Amazon, as well as Gen V that just wrapped up its first season, and the finale kind of is leading into the next season of The Boys. And I think it's definitely a show worth checking out. It's like one of the rare ones where you get a teen cast, a younger cast, for a popular IP. To usually it's blatantly to drag in younger audiences, but here it adds a bit more to that. It does have certain like stereotypes that are very frequent in those types of shows, but it's still like ruthless. But as soon as they bring in some of the characters that we are a bit more familiar with, I feel like the show kind of has to align itself a bit more. You don't really know where The Boys is going to go, and sometimes it's because they make weird decisions that don't really make sense narratively, they're a bit of a weaker choice. But this one, pretty solid. I can't say the same for The Marsh King Started. It's only out, I think, in US theaters at the moment, but it's basically Where the Crawdads Sing, but with Ben Mendelsohn and Daisy Ridley, and it's really bad. Nyad is out on streaming on Netflix. It's decent if you like a big old good feel-good based on true events story, sports story, then go check it out. Priscilla is out in wide release in the States. Again, Lachlan, you gotta wait a bit longer. I think for me, it's also a couple months off, so we'll probably wait on the VOD release, because I assume that's going to be before January when we get to talk about it in full spoiler fashion. But if you're in the States, go check it out. It's definitely worth seeing, and it's going to have a bunch of really interesting discussions coming from it. The Driven Ones, a Swiss documentary that played at the Zurich Film Festival, is out in Swiss theaters now. And yeah, it's about like a bunch of people who study economics, and it follows them for 5 years. 5 people follow them for 5 years. What do they do? Are these suits like? And I think it kind of falls short of making something really interesting with the doc. It basically just follows them as they are people. And yeah, it's all right. But something that I think Lachlan also caught in Gun, Simple Comme Sylvain. I don't know if you missed that one. Did you miss? No, I think that was one of the ones that you missed. The Nature of Love. I got to talk to the director. My interview with her should be up on, no, it actually is up on the channel already, so you can go check out that right here. But the film itself was one of my highlights from the Gun Film Festival as well, so if that's playing anywhere near you, go give it a watch. And then also out this week, and I think then in theaters next week, or like it's been all over the place internationally with the release. I got to talk to Sandra Hüller, who's the lead in Anatomy of a Fall. She's also in The Zone of Interest, and I got to talk to her about Anatomy of a Fall, and she actually told me in the interview if her character did it or not. And for most of the film, she wasn't told by the director, Justine Triet, and yeah, basically she leaked it. But she said it really nonchalantly, as if it was like something that's really obvious, but maybe it's not obvious. But it's also not the main point of the film. I can't wait to revisit Anatomy of a Fall with you, Lachlan. I think there's a lot to dive into now that it's had like its release, and a lot of people have kind of digested it and talked about it. But yeah, very exciting weeks. There's a couple more interviews for other films coming up as well. One with the lead from The Zone of Interest as well. So keep your eyes peeled if you're interested in those interview talks with the people in front and behind the camera. But that's all the stuff that I've been watching, Lachlan. Are you completely AI-ified yet? Are you a machine?
Not yet. You're gonna have to mute that entire time while you were talking
on your
track, because
yeah.
I just read 35 different phrases to make my voice. The thing is, I have to do 150 different phrases to get my voice.
And the very last one to actually get it done is a question, and they ask who was in Paris.
So I have 116 different recordings I have to do before I can get my voice generated. I knew it was a feature, but I was like, I didn't realize it was that long.
I knew it was long, so yeah. I tried to stall. I actually extended some of the stuff what I was, because I saw you were still going.
Since we're already censoring all the stuff you've made jokes about already, can you just tell me whether or not Sandra Hüller's character in Anatomy of a Fall is the murderer or not? Can you just say yes or no?
So when she... So yeah.
Yeah, cool.
I think that's what she said. But she said apparently it was obvious from the start, which wasn't the thing that they said in interviews. So I was a bit confused. Because she said it as if it's obvious. So, the main review of the week, the big movie that had a short run in theaters and is now streaming on Apple TV Plus by Lachlan and me. It was crowned the crispiest streaming service out there, even for screeners, by the way. Great quality. Can't say that about any other streaming service, to be honest. Fingernails, the second feature from Christos Nikou, who I don't think you saw Apples, right? You're not familiar with his previous film. Really weird conceptual world that he established there as well, about a guy who forgets stuff. And here it's about love, a movie about love and fingernails and the scientific influence that it has taken recently, and basically a soft sci-fi here. So, Lachlan, could you read us the logline for the film?
Of course, mate. Let me go ahead and do that for you.
We don't need no fingernails. We're in love. We know.
Anna and Ryan have found true love together. It's been proven by a controversial test. There's just one problem. Anna still isn't sure. Then she meets Amir.
This sounds like a great prompt to throw into an AI like ChatGPT or something like that and see what it comes up with. Tell me a story about those. Controversial tests. I wonder what it goes with. The first thing it goes with, is one of them real? Is the other one AI? But no. The movie has played at some festivals. I caught it at the Zurich Film Festival. It's almost 2 hours long, 113 minutes. So a bit on the longer side when it comes to a romance film, but it does have a lot to do to set up the world that we are in. It's been received, I'd say, lukewarmish. Some people really like the beginning stages of the film and then think often share that they think it doesn't really stick the landing or go anywhere super interesting. So the ratings kind of average around a 3.2 on Letterboxd, a 6.3 on IMDb, and a 62 on Metacritic. So critics and audiences do kind of agree on this film. Had a budget of 10 million, and because it only was in theaters for a short while, there's no real grosses for the film. But like I said, you can go see it right now on Apple TV Plus. It premiered earlier this year at Telluride and is by actually an Aussie film company. They were part of the co-production company called Dirty Films. They also made a Little Fish, for example, also starring Cate Blanchett. She's an executive producer on Fingernails. and also another film that she was in, The New Boy, that we both missed in Gun. So that's kind of tied to Cate Blanchett, her interest in this. And then also Film Nation Entertainment, a bigger production company who has made big films like Arrival, Promising Young Woman, Room, Under the Skin, Looper. So they are kind of in that sphere of sci-fi films that they often operate in. It comes from the Greek director Christos Nikou, and it's his first time working with an English cast, and that being a heck of a good one, with Jesse Buckley. Then we also got Jeremy Allen White and Riz Ahmed in it. We also got Luke Wilson, who I know Lachlan likes quite a bit from all of the Wes Anderson appearances that he has made. And yeah, that's pretty much it. We're gonna dive into the film now. And Lachlan, I went in with the expectation of getting you to watch this film, that maybe that's something that doesn't fully click for you, that this wouldn't be like your type of film, where for me it was obvious that maybe it was a bit more for me, because I'm a bit of a sucker for romances. So what were your thoughts coming out of the movie?
So, from a romance perspective, yes, you're correct. I don't like seek out romance films, but doesn't mean I don't want to watch them. So yes. I wouldn't say that you could kind of guess that I wouldn't like this film, because what I really like is the weirdness of this film, the quirkiness, the surrealist side to this film that I really enjoyed. The romance side is what carries you along, for at least for myself. It's the interesting idea of making love a tangible yes or no that intrigued me. And that is super interesting to me, is taking a concept that is at its core very complex. Like, how can you tell that you love somebody, right? What are the physical signs other than just you kind of know? But what if we had a test that goes, yes, you scientifically love this person, you scientifically don't love this person, and that intrigued me. And similar to Jesse Buckley's character, I was intrigued on the tests and how they proved it, right? And we can get into that, but I didn't dislike this film as much as I thought when I started it, at least, because I didn't know anything going in. I didn't watch any trailers. You just said, hey, we got to watch Fingernails this week. And I was like, all right, cool. I whacked it on, and I was like, Ewan, you've got me watching a romance movie. Fuck you. And it ended up being an enjoyable journey for me, at least. So for me, I didn't hate my time.
That's great. That's great.
I'm sure you fucking love this movie.
So I watched it at the Zurich Film Festival, gave it a really good rating, seeing it in a theater, and then I rewatched it last night, expecting to be a bit down on it a bit more, to critique it a bit more in what it's going for. And by the end of it, I was like, nope. I don't like certain things about it, or some things are clunky when the dialogue is kind of needed to add some context, to basically do exposition. And there's a bunch of things that you could definitely tell are like from a non-English speaking director, the way that he makes them say stuff and phrase it and explain it. That I don't know how to put that into words myself, but I just kind of felt that it wasn't an mainly English speaking director who was doing this one. But the concept is just so fucking good. Like, it has so much potential. And I think, without getting into a specific spoiler just yet, we'll get into that in just a second, I think the movie just starts to be really interesting right when it ends. I think that's like where I wanted to have more of it. So I was like aching for more, as these characters were also aching for more of a confirmation. But do they need that confirmation? Like, that whole dynamic is so ripe for a lot of stuff, because it extends beyond the allegory that it's trying to go for that's not a word, but science, how do you say that? Making something an adverb for science, for science-ifiable. We are here innovating new words. That's like I don't know, how would you describe that? Like making it on the merit of science, kind of, putting all of I don't know. I don't have the words for it, but basically giving so much power to science over something that we don't really I would say we wouldn't say that love is quantifiable, or would you say that as like something that you can calculate and that you can pinpoint to and to make, like, set a number next to love and its strongness and how intense it is? Do you think like that's something that's possible?
No, but that's why I like this movie, because it tries to do it, and that's quite fucking cool. That is the key thing. I thought when I was watching this, I was like, oh, it's a lobster ripoff. What am I doing here? Why am I watching a lobster? Like, is this like, have I downloaded the wrong lobster movie? Like, what the hell's going on here? Because the film, unfortunately, doesn't ever really jump into the weirdness of it all. Like, it really stays away from it. Like, it's got a meter long stick between diving into it and just not. So that's unfortunate, because I really felt that this film would have benefited from really diving into the weird and wacky that it's trying to achieve, because there is this weird vibe that you get at this place, right? This is the Love Institute, but there doesn't really feel much love actually there.
No.
And there's these weird experiments, but like, how do they correlate to love? Like the zapping of the chest when the partner leaves. I was like, I get it, that's funny, that's weird, but it never really goes much further than these are some outrageous experiments to see whether or not it's tangible love. And that was like the only part that ever got it to the weirdness for me.
I think the thing is, like, how the way I see this world is they figured out this thing to see if someone's in love by something like matching, and you can kind of have your own belief if that's true or not. It seems to be working on the confirmation bias, at least, that like if you get the match 100%, then you're meant to be, so you stick together, like that kind of arrangement for marriage. But then the kind of strengthening of it all, like those exercises that they do, those experiments, feel like they haven't really figured out why it is, because it might be quantifiable by like something physical that they can have, but they still don't understand it. They still don't know what makes people fall in love, or what strengthens someone's bond. At least, like, I don't know if you could have that with there's always an audience as well, right? They do these things, but they don't do them one-on-one and give them privacy. It's always in a group. So it comes from like a disconnect, a non-understanding of like romance. Would you say there's something that you can do that's really romantic while like 4 other couples are looking at you?
Yes.
Yeah?
Yes.
Your swinger session from last week. No,
Jesus.
No, sorry.
Well, no. Okay, this is gonna get really like deep and meaningful, I guess. But like love. Yeah. Like, there's the basic concept of like love language. Like every human's got a different love language. Some of it might be subtle, some of it might be big. Like, you don't have to, zap yourself to know that you're in love with somebody. Because you might just want to make sure that you care about them. So it's funny, because I was starting to agree with like their methodology. I was like, okay, this kind of makes sense. And then it gets more and more extreme, like to the point that they're like throwing people out of a plane and like, why can't I do this with an instructor? Well, you might fall in love with the instructor. Oh, okay. Yeah. But like
that was
it got to me
that was
point.
One of the funniest lines in the movie. It was that's the weirdness, right? The instructor. The off guard weirdness that you just catch.
If we want to get into it,
spoilers.
I don't know. We're not really trying to do spoilers, but we probably should, because
no, we can. I think I can definitely recommend it. Like, based on the world it establishes, I think it's definitely worth checking out. I think it also goes beyond that the cast that they got add so much richness to these characters where maybe from the writing alone and with a different cast, I think this would have been definitely a lesser movie. But just looking into Riz Ahmed's eyes, and I feel like 20 different emotions at the same time. I think he's that type of actor. We got like Jesse Buckley and Riz Ahmed might be some of the best actors working, definitely one of the best actors working in I think they're both in their 30s right now. They're incredible, and I think they're going to continue to put out great work. So for them alone, I think it's worth seeing. And then, yeah, it has an intriguing world. But let's talk about spoilers, Lachlan. What do you want to get into?
So I want to get into what made the film not perfect for me.
Fair, okay.
And for me, I think the film has underbaked its ideas. There's a lot of ideas coming into play, but they never fully bring them to light. And I think that's a very much complimenting your comment on the fact that you feel like the film doesn't reach its most exciting point until the end. And I do agree, because I feel like they're throwing so much at you, they don't really come to a cohesive idea until like 30 minutes before the film ends, and they really focus on that idea. And that idea being, as I said, the funniest line in the film is, why can't I do this with an instructor? Well, you might fall in love with the instructor. And then I realized, okay, so this film is doing a story about these two falling in love, and finally it's about that, right? You have to really express what's going to be happening, because I understand that it's Jesse Buckley's character falling in love with Riz Ahmed's character over time, but you then get that sort of mid-story plot twist with the fingernail testing, and
that she's not in love.
She's not in love. At least that's what she thinks, or she thinks she's in love with two people. Is that possible? And that really complicates the story. And then it really evolves into this. She believes in this theory, this scientific theory, but then she evolves into not believing it. And that's the most interesting point. She should have stopped believing in it way earlier. But I think they decided to present these fun and quirky storylines of how they make this machine work, or how they calculate this love before, instead of just presenting this beautiful story of going against the consensus, because it does open up with people going, I don't believe in that. I do believe in that. So that's the most interesting.
Yeah, I think that's one of the weakest moments in the film, where like it establishes their friend circle, and there's like the couple that does it, the couple that doesn't do it. It feels very formulaic, and like, let's set up a bunch of characters so we have different viewpoints, and they're all set up. Like, they set up at one point that like there's a thing with like it being 50%, and I think it nails those plot points that it tries to get to, but it doesn't do the most interesting thing for its characters. It basically sets up the premise and then executes on the premise, but kind of loses the potential of where these characters are actually at on their way through the story, and it becomes like basically them as a vehicle for it, when kind of the focus kind of shifts onto, like you said, onto that love story a bit more.
The other thing as well is, obviously, I don't think they really developed Riz Ahmed's character, especially with the fake love thing, the fake love story of him taking his neighbor to this dinner instead, and it could have really gone into this interesting, I was gonna say incel, but that's not what I wanted to say, but like a man who maybe cuts himself off to love, and that's why he can't express himself.
Maybe it's also like they maybe he does that subtly, but it's like he's part of the machine who makes this test possible, but he doesn't believe in it. And I think they could have explored that a bit more, but he ultimately ends up believing in it, right? He's like the guy who at the end, when they hook up, he goes like, well, but we didn't get a match, so we shouldn't be together. It's like it's implied in this world that if you don't get a match, you have to break up. It's only the 100% matches that should stay together, because the others are doomed. So it's like way more of that ultimate goal is marriage, and like streamlining that type of relationship type, that relationship arc as well. Anything else is not worthwhile. And I think that is also something that goes beyond what we see in this world from the Love Institute. Like, what does this world look like? And you don't need to expand. If you got a great idea for a world, you don't always need to expand the world building because you got intriguing characters. But I was wondering a bit where these characters are at, and it felt like they don't really exist beyond the scenes that they are in. And yeah, we could have gotten a bit more of that, in my opinion, as well.
I do agree, but I feel like also characters can be a great world building tool, because you don't have to show the world, but you just have to have characters believing in it, and to have, for the majority of the part, most characters believing in this tool and only having like the one or two at the start that didn't believe in it makes the, I guess, portrayal of Anne's beliefs, or at least the change of Anne's beliefs by the end of the film, not have that much of an impact, because there already are people who don't believe in it, and this is not like a world leading institute. This is a very small thing, and then maybe this is just like one town, right? We don't really understand the full scale of the world, but we don't have to in this case, because we're more fascinated on Ryan and Amir's story of this love triangle, which would have been even cooler to explore this sort of love relationship. Like, what happens when you have polyamorous couples come into this test? Can you scan more than 2 fingernails?
Thoughts. Yeah, it's also the first gay couple that they test get a 0% test. I don't know if that was like a hint at like the institution kind of being homophobic there. Of like, that's also a hint at the larger world that I think it was about like them struggling with something that's like implied. I guess it was something correlated to birth rate, or maybe they just were really concerned about divorce rates. I don't know. I got no clue. I think they don't really get into that, but yeah, I think that's also another interesting thing that they have same-sex couples there. But yeah, it's implied the machine breaks when you get two gay guys in there.
Machine breaks, yeah. These are 2 male fingernails, 2 women fingernails. We can't process this. The math doesn't math. And it's like, shut the fuck up.
Yeah, exactly. I was also wondering if you would take this test. Would you take it?
Would I take the test?
Yeah, would you take the test?
Oh, shit. Would I take this test? Oh, God. Who's going to listen to this podcast?
Yeah.
I probably wouldn't take the test, but I think that's only because, and I guess it depends if it's a societal thing. I've never really believed in societal mass beliefs. I've always felt like, it's my own life. I can do my own thing. So I probably wouldn't, because I wouldn't need to. If my partner decided to take the test and say, will you take the test for me? I guess I would do that, but only for them. I wouldn't be doing it from a societal standpoint to be like, hey, look, me and my partner got 100% on this test. I wouldn't be flaunting it. I'd do it for their rest assurance. I guess that's my standpoint, but I'm kind of, because like another great plot point was when that kid who did that, that couple did that entire tests, and they were pretty much like perfect, and then he decided he didn't want to take the test, and I thought that was going to evolve into the first character going, well, we've proved that we love each other. Why do we need this fucking certificate to say that we do or not? And I thought that was going to be the first sort of defiant character against doing the test. It ended up just being him scared of getting his fingernails ripped off, which I guess then to get the story flowing, you can't really have Anne test Amir's fingernail without that happening. But I guess you could have, done it another way of getting his fingernail off or something like that. But, I just thought that there could have been that defiant against the societal norms of this test being the definite yes or no, you can be with this person.
I like when these types of idea movies are like more open-ended, and they leave a lot on the table, but I feel all of those bloody fingernails. But I think that was the wrong couple to do it with, especially because Anna had such an interest in them, and we spent so much with them that the payoff is basically them looking at each other at that second photo that they take, and you can kind of see that like there's a certain type of like she hugs him from behind, and like you can see that it's more a moment about them where it felt like through that couple they should have had a moment for themselves, and it was for a different reason, because he did something for them, and it's basically just all about their love story again, where I feel like we needed a bit more from that larger world that they're setting up.
Whether it could have been like little moments, because there is that like first sort of big experiment under the water where she watches his face instead of the couple that she's meant to be watching. If there was just those little moments in each of these tests where they have that, because it just felt like some of these moments there wasn't that moment every time.
That's also an interesting thing, because it's like that's a moment where she falls in love, but not because they are underwater and but because they are doing something kind of tangibly or contangibly, whatever, kind of tied together. But she looks at him and he doesn't know, and they're like in the thing. Like that's a building moment for having some kind of love towards someone, not diving under. Okay, we have 1 minute and we look at each other. That feels really forced, and I think that's like those natural things you do to fall in love. You can't replicate them in an institute. It just doesn't really happen, and I think they acknowledge that as well. They are aware that like when this couple comes in, they usually know, or like Amir has a grip on who he thinks is gonna match and who doesn't. And I think another stat that they bring out, like 87% of the couples that come in don't get a match. Like it's also like a crazy number. It never really establishes on the basis of the fingernail if like they basically implies something like soulmates, that you are just like physically meant to be with each other, or if it kind of tracks the love meter you got for someone, like how much in love you are, and that kind of gets reflected in the fingernails. It leaves that open-ended. I don't know what to think about that fully. Again, it's just like I'm just nibbling on some fingernails when you should be clipping them, and I just want a bit more. I want a bigger bite.
Jeez.
That's how I feel about this film. It's very gross.
People who bite fingernails makes me uncomfortable. Oh,
I don't bite them. I rip them off.
Actually, I don't get them. I don't get queasy in movies for that reason.
Yeah.
Maybe
I wanted to ask you as well, how would you design one of those sessions that they do? But I don't know if we need to do that unless you got like an idea for it. I don't have one. I couldn't think
How
of
would
one.
I design one of the sessions to make
the sessions?
Feel...
Yeah.
Oh. Ooh, you should have asked me this right at the start, so I had time to think about it.
I did have those as my first questions, but then we kind of had a nice conversation going, so I didn't want to interrupt it.
Yeah, let me think about it so I can I can do that at the end. I'll think about it.
Well, I got some other notes around the film, because I read up on what the director has said. Unfortunately, because the strikes are still ongoing, there's not a lot of interviews with the cast. But initially they were trying to figure out the body part that it should be from. Like the idea was that you take something physically from someone. And initially like he had the idea of making it like the heart, part of the heart that you have to take out. But went with fingernails because it's essentially seems like the director is really focused on the allegory of like our current age of online dating, like dating apps and stuff like that being at the swipe of a fingertip as well. That's kind of the extension that he made there. I don't really see the correlation 100% of the time, because those algorithms don't really quantify into something that's measurable, unless there's some dating websites that do that kind of try to calculate something, how much of a match you are. But here it just like it explodes. It goes so much further into that direction. Where it doesn't feel like just like whatever kind of algorithm someone calculates, but maybe there was a bigger critique that he was making at like the institute and the government who's like resting on those love certificates being given out and stuff.
The reason I thought it was fingernails is they grow back, and similar to I guess like a relationship, they grow. It takes time, and they can't.
And
like,
you have to take care of
someone
them.
who takes this test in the honeymoon period of a relationship are gonna pass, right? That's gonna be
I don't know.
given. But it
like,
just
is it something that
I guess
changes?
It just depends.
or is
we
it
don't
like
know
something
how
fixed?
the relationship tester works, but
Yeah.
my thought is that like it's like how the person feels about them. If you get someone right at the start of a relationship, you might find that they do, and that might decrease as time goes on. So I guess maybe the age of the relationship, it might, might not be as 100%. It might decrease, but it could also just be like where they are in their relationship. But the reason I thought it was fingernails is the fact that it grows back and it gives you that next opportunity, because sometimes you aren't compatible with somebody and ends up you are just like best friends with them. You're not actually there for love, that extra step than a friend. And that's why you pick a fingernail, because even though that didn't work, you can grow from that and you grow from that experience, and that's why they take a fingernail. But maybe that's just me reading into it a little bit more. Because
Lachlan is watching a romance film and he's reading into it, guys. We got him. Lock him up.
Analyze.
We're back to the anal beats.
Back to the anal bead jokes.
I'm vibrating for it. I think the ending is also an interesting thing. On my first watch, I was a bit confused because I think her character is a bit underbaked where she arrives at the end there. But she seems a bit frantic in that moment. But she basically rips off her fingernails because she doesn't believe in it anymore. She doesn't want to believe in it.
Yep.
Basically. And I think that's where it really gets interesting. Like, how does her husband Ryan deal with this, where he's been basically not, I wouldn't say like a bad husband, but not really open for the requests that Anna kind of has, and seems to be a bit more resting on the side of, hey, we got this confirmation, so that means we love each other and we don't need to question that. And also don't really need to work on our love as much. And I think they're also like not in, like they're not like in 10 years into their relationship. I think they said like they took the test 3 years ago. They've probably been together a bit before that. Yeah, that's where usually most relationships get really tricky, right around that 3-4 year mark, where it really solidifies, is it going to be like a lifelong thing, or are they splitting away in some ways, or less effort being made? So I think it's really interesting that like the retesting, I think that's also something that they could have explored even more. Like, why do people feel a need to do that, and why are they so attached to the positive that they have gotten, like to risk not getting a positive again? Again, I think this world that he set up is so interesting that I ended up loving this quite a bit. And apparently his next film is going to be another English-speaking one, and it's following a bunch of background actors in movies in the 80s. Yeah, that could be interesting.
Pretty cool.
But yeah, Lachlan, you have an idea of what you would do for the experiment, for like one of the sessions?
I would put the couples in a room and let them play Mario Kart and see if they're willing to make sacrifices so that they both
So you're testing them?
Equal winners.
They should play Double Dash so they could switch between like who's driving and who's doing the items. Yeah, there's levels to it. But by the time
Mario Kart references.
Yeah. Oh, they're just dropping the final wave, and we get the GameCube version of DK Mountain. So I'm really excited for that. It's a deep cut. But yeah, I also quite enjoyed the song choices. I love that it opens up with Total Eclipse of the Heart and Jessie Buckley just singing in the car. I could literally watch like an hour of her just driving and singing along to songs. I think she has something really captivating about herself. And then I think it's also interesting that they like go for, hey, let's sing French songs, because French songs are romantic. And it's kind of funny how French songs are used in a lot of American movies, and people don't really know what they're saying, but they just feel romantic and they kind of replicate. I think that's interesting. It's a nice touch that they I think that's like the one session that I found the most intriguing. If I had to choose one, I would basically steal what Jessie said, what Anna's character said. I think like showering together, I think it's pretty much like the most intimate thing, or like a really intimate thing that you can do that kind of strengthens your bond. And yeah, really nice. Can recommend. Yeah, there's also another moment apart from the one on the plane that I found really funny, and that was Anna sitting in the cinema holding a fire extinguisher, kind of cuddling up with it as they were planning to set the theater on fire, which is like a really funny image. And then yeah, they were doing a Hugh Grant retrospective, which is something that every cinema should do every now and then. Yeah, that's pretty much it. I gave this one a 4 out of 5. I think it's definitely closer to like a 7 out of 10 than it is a 9 out of 10. I'm switching the ratings right in the middle of giving it a rating. But Lachlan, what about you? Where do you arrive at?
I gave it a 3 out of 5. I thought it was good. I didn't think it was great. I thought it was strong, but I didn't think it was the best.
Yeah.
There were aspects I loved. There was aspects I hated. There was ideas that weren't fully thought out. So I had a great time. So I'm just gonna leave it at a 3 stars.
I'm happy about that, to not send you into a movie that you dislike. And yeah, we have a lot to talk about. I think that's like one of the merits of the film, that there's a lot to get into. Which, by the way, not a movie, like I said, in what we've been watching, Priscilla, another film, was a lot to talk about. Looking forward to that one. But if you had to pair it up with another film, what would you pick?
Well, as I said, I was comparing it to The Lobster at first, and it made me want to do The Lobster as my double feature, because I thought that that's a great film that leans really into its weirdness, but also talks about love.
It's great. Yeah, I think that's probably a perfect pick. I don't know if you've ever had that, but The Lobster with Fingernails is pretty much a perfect pick. And I feel bad. But I'm also going along the lines of picking a better romance film over this. I actually have 2 picks here, so you can choose which one you want to double feature with. One of them is more of like the longing of people can't be together, which kind of reflects Fingernails in the mood for love. And then Her, which is, I guess, also that, but there's also the more tech stuff, the distance between someone not being real. Wholly different movies, but both great to talk about love, and Her, especially in a modern sense, love as well. But yeah, those are double features. Then if you want to catch something new, there's a bunch of stuff that's releasing next week. The Marvels is out. We got a new MCU film, and we are gonna dive deep into Disney and the MCU and basically answer the question of what the fuck is going on. What could they do better? We'll actually have an interesting discussion time next week. Then The Killer, that we've already covered, is out on Netflix, so you can go check out our spoiler review from last week in the US, and unfortunately not in Europe and in Australia yet, is The Holdovers. That's getting a wide release in the States. Dream Scenario is out on limited release in the States as well as Robot Dreams, a little charming animated flick about a robot and a dog's friendship, and September keeps playing over and over. It's quite a fun one. And then Lachlan, I wanted just to remind us that we did watch this movie Youth from Wang Bing, the 3.5-4 hour long documentary that we both hated and gave you chronic neck pain. Is out in limited release in the States. And then on November 11th, over on Showtime, we are getting a series, a 10-episode series that has its premiere, The Curse, with Nathan Fielder, Emma Stone, and Benny Safdie. I'm anticipating that one quite a bit as well, so we'll have our thoughts on that next week. But like I said, next week, it's time for the MCU and the Marvels to fly in, and we'll talk about the MCU and all of that. But in the meantime, don't forget to rate us on your preferred podcatcher app, and subscribe to the channel to not miss those interviews, those podcasts, those reviews, all of the stuff that we publish throughout the week on the channel. So thanks so much for listening, and don't go ripping off your fingernails, all right? Go love yourself. Don't rip off 2 fingernails and put it in the same machine and test if you love yourself. Yeah, you do. You are valid. Goodbye.